What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Nutrition Talks with Tyson the Trainer. Now, you already know what this week is because you listened to me last week, and this one's going to be about what to focus on when maintaining and finishing a diet. How do we keep that motivation going? How do you keep excited? How do you know you're still on the right track with what you should be doing going forward? This is what we're going to be talking about. It's like a trailer that I just talked about, and then I was like, oh, I've just got to transition straight into this, basically. So, basically, let's just start off firstly. Like, you finish your diet, you've gone to a maintenance phase, you've listened to this other episode, you're like, okay, I'm going to trust Tyson, I'm going to eat what his calculator says. What do I do now? Like, what am I supposed to do? Well, you kind of got a few options, right? Firstly, are you happy with, like, what you've achieved? Because, like, for most people, you don't need to do anything else once you've lost the weight and you're maintaining a healthy weight. Like, the goal actually is just to work on, the habits you should have been working on from the get-go, which is good behaviors in order to make the weight loss sustainable for the long term, which is usually getting good with meal prepping, following the 80 to 85% whole nutritious foods, and then 15% enjoyable foods, being able to keep yourself active by increasing your overall steps, regularly exercising, choosing foods for that are going to be filling, that are enjoyable more than anything, still covering those bases of your fruits, your veggies, your whole grains, and all that stuff, which will be included in that. So basically, keeping those good habits that you've achieved while you've lost it, all right? But ideally, like, when we want to maintain that, like, some of the behaviors you may have picked up during dieting, you actually want to get rid of, okay? So one of those behaviors that I would encourage you to start to move away from is tracking your food. You don't need to be tracking your food for the rest of your life. It is a tool. It's not a fucking coping mechanism for the rest of your life, okay? That's one thing. Secondly is, again, still focus on those health promoting habits if you haven't been. So, if you haven't been focusing on getting all the fruits, veggies, whole grains and shit, now's the time to do it. As long as, also along with getting extra sleep, which would be important too. I don't want to say extra sleep, like nailing your sleep would be important too. Making sure what you know is going to be sustainable for you in the long term. So the behaviors you were doing during a deficit, not all of them are going to be sustainable for the long term, but the things you're probably doing on a daily basis to make sure you can keep that routinized, because the more routinized it is, the easier it is to stick to. And then finding other things to focus on to keep you motivated and excited. So the first thing you've kind of got to consider again is, like, are you happy with where you're at the moment? Do you think you need to lose more body fat? Not based on what you fucking see on Instagram. Like, for you, if you stood away from Instagram and you're able to somehow objectively objectify yourself, and just to think, like, am I happy? Do I feel confident? How do you know if you feel confident? Do you feel like, okay, everyone's going to be different for me. Like, for you, everyone's going to be different with this, I should say, sorry. For me, it's like, do I feel good when I take off my shirt? Do I feel like I could have sex with the lights on, basically, Sweet. Yes, I'm in a good position, Might be for you, might be something else. Like, you have to know what your objective measures are, but, like, for me, it's quite easy, If I don't want to take off my shirt at the beach, I'm like, okay, I need to fucking work on it a little bit. If I don't want to have sex with the lights on, it's like, all right, well, I'm not feeling good with myself at the moment. It's quite simple, for me anyways. Everyone's going to be different. So for you, it's like, you've got to have those measures to whether you're happy with where you are at the moment, or, do you want to go into another dieting phase. Because here's the thing. For a majority of you listening, you're not going to compete. I fucking hope you're not going to compete, because Jesus Christ. So you're not going to compete. Which means you shouldn't get caught up in the whole, I don't want to say it's just bodybuilding, because it's not like comp prep side of things where you're bulking, you're cutting, you're doing all that shit. But also, if you are like me, and you enjoy the fitness side of things, like the gym is a hobby, okay? It's not an obsession, but it's a hobby. You want to see, okay, you know what? Maybe I do want to try and gain some muscle and I want to give this a good go. Then, like, you can go into a gaining phase. Or, you might want to try and cut a little bit more, then go into a gaining phase. Like, if this is a general interest of you. But for most people, it's like, you want to lose weight and look better. You don't have to do bulks, gains, all this fucking, bulking, cutting, all this bullshit. You just decide now, like, are you at a healthy body fat level and a healthy body composition, or do you need to lose more, right? If you decide I need to lose more, go into a maintenance phase for a certain period of time, then go back into a deficit. If you're where you're at now and you're like, yeah, I feel pretty good. Oh, I want to gain some muscle. Great. Stay exactly where you're at. If you want to, you know, if you're just like, oh, I want to gain some muscle, I want to be more toned and defined. Not like I want to get bigger muscles and be jacked. Okay. This is how you know if it's a hobby or not. Like for me, I'm like, I want to get bigger. I want to grow. I want to look more muscly. Okay. For you, it's probably like, oh, you know, I would like to get some more muscle. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Just eat at maintenance and train consistently. Like they're your two things, because now all your component is time as a factor. That's all you got to think about. Time is your factor to move you forwards, basically. That's all you've got to consider. Where it's like, it's a long-term game now. This is why we focus on other habits outside of that. Other things to focus on outside of that. If you are someone who's like, I want to go into a gaining phase. Yeah, fucking sweet. Go into a gaining phase. I'm pretty sure I've covered some episodes on that, which you should know about, but it's like, that's your next endeavor. So it just basically depends on where you want to go. But we're going to talk about, let's say you've just finished in dieting overall. You don't need to go into another, you're not going to do this whole gaining cut thing. You don't need to go into another diet. You just want to be able to maintain what you've got and work on being a little bit more, you know, a more enjoyable lifestyle, and then also looking better overall. Still, like, you know, I feel good, but I still could look a little bit better. I want to gain some muscle. Fucking perfect. That's what we want you at. Okay. So the first thing is changing your habit approach, right? With the way you're eating from an ideally you should have been eating 85% whole nutritious food, 15% enjoyable food. You now want to transition this into an 80-20 approach, okay? If you're already doing 80-20, it's fine, but we want to keep the 80-20 approach in all areas of our life. So 80-20 is basically, you know, 80% of your food, let's say your maintenance is now 2,600, 80% of your food should be coming from whole nutritious food. So your fruits, your veggies, your protein, your lean meats, your whole grains, all that stuff. Kinds of protein, lean meats, same type of shit, you know? You want to get all the good stuff in, all right? Then 20% of your food. So for you, that would be what? 500 calories, decent fucking amount. 500 calories to 600 calories a day comes from enjoyable foods. Fucking, that's pretty decent, all right? You look at that over a month, you know, 20% of your days, which should be about, you know, 5 to 6 days, you get to have, when I say enjoyment, it's like go for a takeaway night without fucking being a pig and going crazy. Being able to go out and enjoy a few social drinks and stuff like that. Like, that's what it looks like. It's not every weekend you get shit-faced. Every weekend you get a huge takeaway night. You get KFC, you get to binge eat. It's like, you just get that little bit more freedom to have a little bit more flexibility, okay? This is where it's important here to work on the lifestyle of flexibility, where it's like we have those habits and behaviors that we want to, you know, make life a little bit more fun, but we don't want to fall back into that old lifestyle. Because I think for a fucking majority of people who come with the goal of wanting to be fitter, wanting to be healthier, wanting to, you know, all these things, where it's like, okay, I understand that. Like, I see what you want to do, but those old behaviors where you got fucking shit-faced every weekend, where you ate shit all the time, where you're getting takeaway multiple times a week, all that stuff, it's like, you can't do that anymore, okay? You just can't go back to the old lifestyle. And people are like, oh, well, but that, like, what? Well, fuck, okay, don't complain. If you want to go back to your old lifestyle, go back to your old lifestyle. But there's a fucking reason that you sort this out in the first place, and it's because your old lifestyle and shitty behaviors weren't serving you, which is why you became unhappy, okay? So this is where we make those adjustments. Like, perfect example. I wouldn't say this is a perfect example. This is just my example. I went out with my friends on the weekend because it was their birthday, okay? I didn't drink when I was there because people just know I don't drink now. No one fucking hassled me. No one's like, oh, Tyson, I wish you had a drink. They just know this is my life now. I don't drink, okay? If I wanted to have a drink, I could have 1 or 2 drinks. But it's very, you know, I'm always like, I'm always half on that side of things. Like, some days I'm okay with having 1 or 2, or I know that just turns into a fucking absolute bender. So I'm like, you know what? I'll play it safe. I'm not going to drink this time. There's a time and a place when I will drink. You know, I don't feel restricted. I don't feel like, oh, I didn't have fun. Or, because, like, look, people are like, oh man, I can't have fun if I don't drink. Well, then you're a fucking boring person. Let's be real, okay? If you have friends that you can't have fun with unless you drink, that's an issue worth reflecting on. Now, not everyone's probably going to agree with me on this, but I definitely think it's an issue worth reflecting on. Like, I can't have fun with my friends unless I am under an intoxication. It's like, okay, so are these really your friends then? Because I have fun with my friends, whether I'm sober or whether I'm under the influence of something else, all right? Like, that's how I know they're my friends. If I only just have friends who I can just hang out with when I'm under an influence, I'm like, are these the people I want to be hanging out with? You know? So it's like, you know, I pick and choose my battles, basically. So for you, it's the same type of thing. You don't drink every weekend like you used to. You don't drink on a Friday to Sunday like you used to. You don't order Uber Eats on a Friday, Sunday hangover, all that shit. You got to change those behaviors. That's what's going to be important. So we follow that 80-20 principle, okay? The next thing I said is moving away from tracking. Please, for the fucking love of God, move away from tracking. It doesn't give any, like people will try and justify tracking. Oh, well, it gives me control. It makes me, you know that I can have that balance in my life. You should be able to do that without fucking doing it. You should be able to have balance without tracking obsessively, all right? It's like what? You cannot use a fucking device. Like, I have to weigh my food in order to be relaxed. Okay. All right. So you're telling me that if you do not weigh and track obsessively, that it's even worse for you. And you're telling me this obsessive mechanism of weighing and tracking is making your life better. Sounds like there's an underlying issue there to me. Just saying. But anyways, what you want to do is you move away from tracking. How do you move away from tracking? Well, roughly, you're probably eating the same type of shit every day. So if you're already eating the same shit every day, you don't need to track, okay? If you know every morning you have either breakfast A or breakfast B and it's 600 calories-ish, then who gives a fuck whether you're tracking that or not? Because you know it's roughly the same type of thing. If you know for lunch you're having option A or option B, same type of shit, you know? You're like, oh, but my dinner always changes. Okay, cool. So you know roughly that every day you're having 1,800 calories by the end of the day. Cool. And your dinner, oh, surprise, surprise. You may have a different dinner always every day, but it always ends up being between 600 to 800 calories. Cool. Then you know what it's about. Sweet. Happy days. You can do that without having to track, you know? But the way to move away from tracking, because I know a lot of people freak out about that, is like, oh, well, no, I can't just turn it off. Yeah, of course. You've been relying on it for so long. The way you move away from it is by choosing one day you don't track. Or again, if you eat the same breakfast every day, you just leave those 600 calories untracked every breakfast. Like, you just don't log them. All you're trying to do is not log food. So you either pick one day or one meal on the track, whatever you want, you pick that. Once you start to get confident, you do your measurements on every weekend. You still keep measuring yourself once you've achieved this maintenance phase, just to help keep you on the sanity route. And so you know the things are okay, because people get up in their head. Oh, I'm not tracking anymore. I must be overeating. Oh, I'm so bloated. Oh, it's like, okay, well, fuck. Hang on. Before you gaslight yourself, let's just actually have a look at what the data is showing us. So take your measurements. Choose one day or one meal you're not going to track. On the Sunday, take your measurements again. Oh, nothing changed. Fantastic. Build up that confidence. So then you either choose the second meal not to track or a second day not to track. So every week you're just slowly chipping away again and again and again. And eventually you're going to be able to cut out tracking. So it might take you 6 to 8 weeks to finally cut it out fully, but that's great. And there might be special event where like, oh, you know, if things start to get a little bit looser and you feel like you might be slipping, then it's like, okay, go back to tracking just to give yourself that control, but you should be moving away from tracking. And in saying that, I'm pretty sure in one of the episodes I covered in my podcast that while you're dieting first and learning tracking, you should be eyeballing and guesstimating food, because guesstimating is what you can do when you're not tracking. And so you can roughly recount your day and be within a good range. Okay. Like I can eyeball certain things and be like, all right, sweet. That's that amount of calories. That's that. And it's absolutely fine. And guess what? Surprise, surprise. I don't fucking gain weight because I tracked long enough that I had that confidence. Same thing as you. You've been tracking for more than 4 months, you should fucking know some good portion sizes, okay? You've been tracking for more than a year, you got no fucking excuse about what to guesstimate. You should be able to fucking nearly pinpoint guesstimate quite well, all right? So moving away from tracking is a really important thing you want to do. Secondly, again, health promoting behaviors, not focusing on macros and just making sure you're getting your protein and your daily habits in. So it's like, you know, I eat, like this is where it's just diversity in your day. Always make sure you want that second nature of like, did I eat some vegetables today? Did I eat some fruit today? Did I have protein at every meal? You know, did I make that 80-20, is my day looking 80-20? You just reflect on that. It's like a little bit of reflection each day to look at, okay, what do I need to work on tomorrow? Because it's never about perfection. You know, it's about consistency. And that's the same thing as when you've finished achieving your weight loss, whatever you're trying to do. It's just still about being consistent overall with trying to make sure you're like, all right, well, like, you know, I'm still consistently eating enough food every day. I'm still consistently eating enough fruits and vegetables every day. That's what health is. It's never about perfection. It's just like every day. Like, I just think about every day. Oh, when I, like, meals to me are instinctual when I eat. I'm like, okay, where's my veggies? All right, where's my protein? Like, if I don't have veggies or a protein source in a meal, like, what am I actually eating? That's a weird thing when I think about it. I'm like, what the fuck am I actually eating? Like, I would never just have like rice on its own. I know that's quite, or like, I'd never just eat some rice crackers on their own. Actually, no, I probably would. I'd snack on like rice crackers and stuff. But even like if I have like a muesli bar, let's just say I have a random muesli bar. It's a snack. It's not a meal, is what I'm saying. When I have a meal, there's always like, where's my protein? Where's my veggies? Like, they're two fucking plants and protein every meal. That's what you want to be thinking about, basically. If I go and get takeaway, plants and protein. Like, do I allow myself to have enjoyment stuff? Yeah, but also, like, I just like to eat a fucking steak with veggies. Like, I don't know who doesn't like to eat a steak with veggies. Or I'll be like, oh, fuck, man, like sizzling garlic prawns. Yum. You know? Like, shit like that. Like, okay, let's say sizzling, like, creamy sizzling garlic prawns. What do they still come out with? A side of fucking salad or something? Or usually they're a topper on a meal. Like, great, extra protein, throw it on. But I'm not really a big fan of just, like, I don't know, protein's just filling to me and sustenance, and I need the veggies for the volume, so maybe it's just me, but like, again, that's just like an instinctual thing that I think about now, you know? So focusing on those good habits and behaviors instead of focusing on your fucking macros, which you shouldn't. If you've been listening to me for any period of time, you know it's just protein and calories predominantly, and focusing on those good behaviors. Thirdly, sustainable long-term habits that you can achieve, that you can sustain, sorry. Sustainable long-term habits you can sustain. Quite self-explanatory if you ask me. But basically it's like, okay, so you probably were doing a certain amount of steps every day, you're training a certain time, all that type of stuff. Is that realistic going forward? That's what you got to think about. Like, can I do this for the long term? And that's why I say to people, don't just fucking go to the gym if you don't enjoy the gym. Find shit you enjoy. My partner, she plays touch, she goes and does Olympic lifting, and she goes to the gym that she enjoys because it's a community. For me, I got my headphones in, I train by myself, I do boxing because that's enjoyable, I sit in the assault bike because that's tolerable for me. Everyone's different, right? You've got to find activities that are going to be enjoyable to you that you can keep fucking doing. This is also cool why sports has seasons, you know? Season this, you're doing this, next season you're doing that. Like, you know, great. You have something else to focus on. You know, you find different sports you enjoy. Or again, you know, you might be someone who just likes to go to the gym. It's cool. I don't care. But it's got to be something that you can stick to for the long term. Okay? Because otherwise, if you're like, oh man, I just can't fucking do these steps every day. I just can't do this. Well, then guess what? It's going to be very hard to sustain what you've achieved when you have to rechange that lifestyle, or if it's just hard to stick to. So it's like, find shit that you actually enjoy that you can stick to. Sounds revelatory, is that the word? Yeah, revelation, yeah. Sounds revelatory, I know, but guess what? It's just like simple things like that, because people do insane, like, oh, I got to keep up 20,000 steps. Okay, shit like that, you don't have to do, right? I thought I was like, you know, I'm like, oh, I love being active. To a point, I'm like, man, fuck this. I don't want to be doing 20,000 steps on a weekend and stuff like that. So I brought it down, and I'm like, oh, well, fuck, this is more sustainable for me to stick into. So little things like that go a long way for a lot of people. So you got to consider, is this going to be sustainable over the next X amount of time? Oh, they yawn, pardon me. It's like, I know, like, you know, I'm boring myself. No, it's, if like, let's say you're like, I can see myself doing this for the next 6 to 12 months. Okay, cool. But if you start to find yourself being stagnant, find something else exciting. It's like some clients say to me, oh man, I'm just like, you know, I'm not enjoying the gym at the moment. And I'm like, okay, what are you not enjoying about the gym? You know, do you feel like you need a community aspect? Because like on the Sundays, I always train with my mates on a Sunday. That makes it more enjoyable for me. I like to train by myself for a majority of the time because I want to get in, get it done. I got the work I got to do. I'm like doing this. And there are just other times where I'm like, I want to go and enjoy myself. I want to go and enjoy a training session with a friend. Event, like, you know, here and there, I'll go and do a CrossFit session with a mate. This Friday, I've got a strongman session with my strongman client. He's like, let's do a session. That's what keeps it fun. I've got my routine for like, again, 85% of the time, 15% of the time. Oh, you want to go to this? Yeah, sweet. You want to do this? Yeah, awesome. Like that just keeps my life fucking fun at the end of the day. It makes my training more enjoyable when I've got my routine there. I know what I'm doing. I'm ticking the boxes. It's keeping it exciting. Then on the other side of things, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have a little bit of variety here. I'm going to make it more fun. That's how I break it up, and that's how I like it to be enjoyable. And that's also what makes it sustainable. If I was just doing the gym every week, 5 days a week, not doing anything else, that's what I did for a lot of years. Guess what? It got fucking boring, and I changed it up because I'm like, I want to be able to do this long term, you know? You might be like, oh, I'm fucking sick of lifting weights like this. I'm going to do CrossFit. I'm going to do F45. I'm going to do whatever. Who cares? I would encourage you to do that. Find something multiple things that you can stick to for the long term, okay? Same as cardio. You're like, oh man, I got to work on my cardio. Tyson said it's fucking important. Got to take care of my stupid fucking health because stupid fucking Tyson says it. One of my clients always like, go off my fucking stupid steps to take care of my stupid health because my stupid coach knows I've got to be healthy. And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. But thinking about that, it's like, you know, like I've got to do these things, but make it enjoyable. You know, make it as enjoyable as possible. Find other options. Cardio. You feel like, I know I've got to do this for my health and it doesn't matter what I do. I fucking hate cardio. Okay, what's the least resistance? Can you watch Netflix while you do cardio? You don't get on the fucking recumbent bike and watch, sit and do cardio while you watch Netflix or whatever you're going to do. For me, it's like, I'll change it up. I'll do boxing, then I'll go for a run if I can go for a run. Then I'll do the assault bike. It's like whatever I feel like. Like today, my arms are fucking sore as from training. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go do the assault bike. I mean, not the assault bike. I'm going to go for a run. I'm not going to do the assault bike with these arms. I'm going to go for a run because I'm like, that's no pain on my upper body and it's what I want to do today. That's also the cool thing about having different things that you enjoy, quote unquote, tolerate, that you change it up. You're like, oh, I can't be fucked doing this today. I'm going to do this instead. Some days I'm like, I can't be fucked going heavy at the gym because I'm then going to do lighter reps today and, a lighter weight and more reps. What's the issue with that? Like, I'm not here to become the fucking world game-changing bodybuilder. I'm just here to fucking train and be healthy and enjoy life, you know? Like, again, it's all this good enough that I talk to you guys about. It's the good enough stuff, you know, what keeps it exciting. For me, I'm like, okay, I'm sore today. Oh, I should be going on the assault bike, you know? I know that fucking burns more calories. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck, man? This is for your healthy overall lifestyle is what I want you guys to focus on, you know? So establishing routines that are going to be long-term focus that you can stick to for, you know, for the long term, I guess. And having different things to focus on, finally, having different things to focus on to keep you in there, okay? Because again, the monotony of just showing up day after day, week after week, you know, you can just kind of get bored of it. So you got to find little things that excite you. So for me, like with training wise, I'm just still always trying to refine my technique. I have found trying to refine my technique and feel it in the muscles just makes me show up a little bit more in the gym when I go there. Because I'm like, okay, last week I didn't fucking feel it here. I want to make sure that I'm really feeling it. And it's like, that's what I had the intent for on this session. With cardio, I just do cardio because I'm like, okay, I can listen to this. I like to listen to podcasts and audio stuff when I'm doing cardio. And I'm just like, with that, the intent there that makes it exciting is that I get to learn, right? Like I've always liked to learn shit. So you've got to find things that are going to keep you motivated to keep doing stuff. So it's like, you know, is strength your motivator? Is looking a little bit better your motivator? Is getting better with technique your motivator? Is having a community there, like CrossFit, great fucking community to keep showing up and be a motivator? You got to find out what's going to keep you. I don't want to say, like, even though I'm saying motivation, I'm like, is motivation the right word? Like, because even though I don't feel like doing stuff and I'm not motivated to do it, I just kind of do it because it's habitual. So once like going to the gym becomes a habit and then it's just easy to do, great. But if you find you're constantly grinding against it, that's when you want to change things up. If you like find yourself skipping workouts and stuff, I guess for me, because I just like routine and like what I'm doing, I don't skip the workouts unless I'm like absolute run down. But if you find yourself constantly skipping and not wanting to do stuff where it's like, okay, well, maybe you either need to have something to focus on in the gym or whatever to make it more exciting, or you need to change stuff up. So you've kind of just got to pick little focus points for you to work on. Like for me, my focus point is actually the gym's there just for support, and I'm obviously focusing on my form, but boxing is where it's at, and increasing my boxing technique. So that's where my focus and attention is at the moment. I'm practicing boxing technique outside of the gym because I'm like, I want to get better at this. So finding something, I guess I would say, what you can get better with mastering. And so, because the good thing about trying to lift is like, I've been lifting for 10 years, right? Well, fucking more than that, 14 years. So with that, my mastery is still trying to get better at form, but that's always going to be there. My mastery is to get stronger, but that's always going to be something I'm chasing. Whereas boxing is a new skill I've only been doing for the last 15 months or whatever it is. So I've got so much growth to be happening there, and it's me trying to get better at that now that's where I'm more invested in at the moment. So I guess what I'm trying to help you guys understand here is like, you know, there's always things you can be working on with your health and fitness and trying to find stuff that excites you, that keeps you focused. And then it's like with the healthier lifestyle, okay, are you still getting in all your daily habits? Because like for me, I'm like, all right, now I got to go back and work on my sleep. Be working on my sleep. Then I'm like, fuck, I'm actually, you know what? I've been slacking my dairy. Got to go back and work on my dairy. You know, it's like all these little things where I'm always keeping a focus point, I guess you would say, something to always keep my eye on, because with that, it gives you intent. And with that intent, at least at the end of the day, you're keeping your focus somewhere that's just not going to become a boring thing that you end up giving up. Because in order to keep yourself going, there has to be some type of interest there. So trying to be better by mastering, by thinking about different things, about how I can improve on this, or what do I want to work on, always asking yourself that, can be something that just keeps you on point, right? That's kind of where I want to finish with that side of things anyways. So basically, for those of you that are, you know, you finish your weight loss journey, you want to work on maintaining a healthy weight, you establish good routines, you move away from tracking. That'll take, so like all this stuff is going to take time too. You find things that you can sustain for the long term. You find different things that are going to keep you excited, all right? You learn to start trying to work on mastery, which means just repetition over time and trying to work on something with an intended focus. And you keep working on health promoting habits over time, which again, all this stuff in itself may seem like, oh, well, that's pretty fucking, you know, airy-fairy. It's not very, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's quite vague, but it's like, yeah, that's what maintenance is. Like the most important thing is just having those things that become habitual, you know? And then it's like when it's habitual, then you're just trying to work on refining and tweaking those little habitual habits to make them even better. And that's a cool thing. Like maintenance requires a lot less effort to maintain than it does to actually get there, which is great. But it's like, it's a very fine line between not a lot of effort to keep it there versus requiring no effort and then you fall off track. And that's where we want to have the difference. Cool. So hope that was helpful. Hope that made sense. If anyone has any questions about this, make sure you message me on Instagram at tysonthetrainerr with 2 R's. If you enjoyed it, make sure you tag me and share it on Instagram at tysonthetrainerr with 2 R's. And until next time, my friends, I will speak to you guys then.